Hi everyone, today I'm going to do a review of Don Bluth's Anastasia. I'm not going to go into the whole box debate, so don't expect that. She's finally a Disney princess stuff here, so let's talk about the movie instead. Now, this movie, similar to Pocahontas, is very loosely based on a true story, and that's always a challenge, especially adding fantasy aspects to it, like Rasputin and his minions and a talking bat named Bartok. But at the same time, there are some good concepts here for the storyline. We have a girl wanting to find her family and some characters that are really shifty at first with Dmitri and Vladimir. And seeing how they interact and slowly change each other on their journey to the past. See what I did there? But at the same time, Rasputin and his minions are trying to kill her so the curse can be complete and all the Romanovs will be dead. So, yeah, this movie isn't right for a history lesson by any stretch. There's so many things that are wrong with it that way, so don't expect it to be like that. But at the same time, I know that is a problem when you're making any kind of movie based on a true story, no matter how loosely. So just take that out of the equation and you'll find a pretty good story, because there is so much to like with it, to enjoy, that at its center it's a protagonist that wants to find her family and a home, which is something a lot of people can really identify with. And unlike other animated heroines, she isn't looking for love. It just seems to happen, which is not necessarily a better motivation, but less cliche, I'll say, for a movie, especially when it's one that's in the princess style. Now, this is a very Disney-esque movie with this story, other than some darker elements, which is a case of Don Bluth's later films all trying to compete with the Disney style. Of those, though, this is by far the best movie, and I'd say that it is on par with the first four that he made, even if I feel like it doesn't have the same unique feel to it as the previous movies. So that's a real nitpick. It's just something that I've always felt a little bit, but at the same time, it's not enough to take away from the storyline. It still has a complex story of a character wanting to find her one place, and characters that aren't exactly black or white, with Dmitri and Vladimir more flawed heroes than are typical for animated films, especially for love interests to a princess, that is. And a story that's just so powerful, and it definitely has a certain feel of Russia at the time, with characters referring to each other as comrade, and everything on this government is red, like when it refers to the passports being red for the writing, while the counterpart ones are blue. So a couple of little remarks there definitely do contribute to the Russian setting, which is really important for an animated film to be very connected to its setting, as this one is. The animation for this film, oh, it's a Don Bluth movie. It looks great. especially with two particular types of scenes: the action sequences and the musical numbers. These are the highlights of the movie. Sure, the humans all look really realistic for an animated film and all have their unique designs, but these are the ones that are really fun to watch. The sequences and how they're handled, such as the siege on the castle or the scene with the attack on the train. There's so many great scenes and action sequences for this movie, and the animation really conveys them in a great way. Everything just looks so exciting for these scenes. And then there's the musical numbers, the best of which to showcase the animation is probably Paris Holds the Key to Your Heart. Really shows all of Paris and how beautiful it is. I'll get into the song itself later, but these musical numbers all look fantastic. They really showcase their settings off, which again is really important for animated films, especially when set in other countries. For someone that wasn't born in Russia or doesn't live in Russia, this really showcases the beauty of the country as well as the beauty in Paris. So it really feels like you are visiting these locations. And then there's Rasputin and his minions. Rasputin looks gross, but in an effective way, kind of like how I talked about some things looking uncomfortable being a good thing for previous animated films that I talked about. My mom hates this movie because it's really disgusting with how they show his imagery, particularly one part when he lowers his head into his neck and then sinking into his chest, and then you see grayish blood and his ribs and ugh. So yeah, it doesn't look nice at all, but at the same time it's not really supposed to, and it really conveys that well. And the design of all Rasputin's creatures is pretty neat too. Some of them are really terrifying, like the ones that attack the train, and then there's some cutish ones, especially during the In the Dark of the Night segment. So the animation is fantastic, as is the case of any Don Bluth movie. The characters are also really enjoyable. Anya is a really strong heroine that's doing her best to find out who she is, and she's strong, she's resourceful, she's clever, she has a bit of sass to her, making her a nice counterpart to other animated heroines at the time, and definitely one of the strongest non-Disney princesses. No, the strongest. The strongest. And I put her up with almost any Disney heroine of the time, really, for courage and strength. But at the same time, we do see how she is vulnerable at times, and she does have a problem with being used, and when she does finally get upset, the idea of the first people that really she felt close to, Dimitri, used her. It is a really heartbreaking scene, especially since she's been so strong and taking everything as it came before then. So when she does get upset in scenes, it really means something. Dimitri is another character that I feel is just really well portrayed, and from the beginning we see that he is a good person by saving Anya and her grandmother from certain death, but then he takes a greedy turn as he grows up. and only really wants to get money from the Dowager Empress. But over time, of course, he slowly warms up to Anya and he falls for her and he cares about her more than money. Yeah, you know where it's going with him. But at the same time, he has a sense of charisma to him even when he's a con artist. So he is likable, and it doesn't matter if you know where his arc is going. It's still a nice one to watch. Vladimir is another character that I really enjoy. Now, a lot of the credit for these characters goes to their voice talents, and that's definitely the case for Vladimir. Kelsey Grammer, aka Sideshow Bob himself, plays him, and he has a sense of sophistication while also being humorous, and he also has a nice fatherly side to Anya, sort of being a father she never had, and talking confidence into her at times, or calming her down in scenes, and it's just so sweet the relationship they have, as well as his friendship with Dimitri. He is a great character. The Dowager Empress is a very grandmotherly character played by the wonderful Angela Lansbury. And seeing how she is so heartbroken over losing her granddaughter, but she still has a good heart. She is very kind to Anya, even when she does suspect Anya's just another one of the actresses. She is polite to her that whole time. And when they finally reconnect, it's just so beautiful. It's one of the best parts of the movie, really. Then there's Rasputin, the villain of the movie. Now, similarly to how I said for Scar, Rasputin is equal parts threatening and funny, so that makes him another great villain. And the way his body moves and falls apart can be both horrifying and comedic. Then there's Bartok, Rasputin's servant and henchman that really isn't as bad as his master, and in fact tries to talk him out of things. Bartok actually got his own movie, Bartok the Magnificent, after this, so that shows his popularity, as well as being Don Bluth's favorite to draw of these characters. Now, the songs are all great. It's on Broadway now, so it's obviously doing something right. Once Upon a December has that nice haunting feel of a lost family, which is obviously what they were trying to go for. Then there's Learn to Do It, a song that really gets Anya the confidence to take a chance and portray herself as royalty. Journey to the Past really shows Anya's motivation for finding her family and establishing her character. Prairie Holds the Key to Her Heart is a nice song that gets some development from Dimitri, but also is just plain fun. And then there's the opening song, Rumor in St. Petersburg, just so catchy and a great opening number. And finally, In the Dark of the Night, such a great villain song, so powerful, and the visuals for it are great too, with the little creatures. Great villain song. Dangerous, powerful, and while some visuals from it might not quite match with some of the cute bugs, I still love it, especially the little bug with a really deep voice. Find her, doom her. So Anastasia isn't Don Bluth's most groundbreaking film, in my opinion, or his most original, and it was one of many animated films that tried to have the Disney style of this time, but it's by far the best of those movies, in my opinion. So that really isn't a problem for me. I don't care if it's similar to Disney. I really do feel this movie does deserve recognition as one of Don Bluth's best. And I'm only sad that the next movie he made wasn't successful, which would lead to him having an 18-year hiatus, because this was the movie to really pull him up out of an 8-year and 4-movie flop after flop. But at the same time, it's just a great all-around fantastic anime with great characters and songs and story. Definitely worth checking out. Until then, see you later.